God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Hoorah. All right. Up next, we have the approval of the agenda.
I move approval.
Second.
I did have, well, actually, I did have one addition.
Okay, well,
Sorry to
I'll hold
add
that then.
confusion. I just, under new business, I would like to just add a quick update on the Oak Park Heights condo project.
On the what?
Oak Park Heights condos, I think it's called the Walkabout.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. So if we have, can we get a motion on the?
Okay, so I'll move that amended with that update added to new business.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, next up, we have the approval of the March 10th, 2022 Planning Commission meeting minutes. I reviewed them. I didn't notice any changes myself. Did anybody else?
Nope, I didn't. No.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda for March.
We have a motion
Second?
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carries. All right, now we are on to department, commission liaison, and other reports. I guess we can start.
Yeah, I don't really, trying to think, Eric, what was at the last council? It was pretty late on the agenda.
Yeah. No, there's,
That Minnehaha transport was on the.
yeah, that was approved.
Yeah, I was just looking at the other notes from our meeting.
Yep, that was approved.
That would have been the
a couple
only
months
thing
ago.
that went from the.
Yeah,
building.
a couple
months ago.
That was a few months ago.
Yeah, that was March.
The
April.
council is wrapped up, I think, we were disappointed in the outcome of the legislative session as it relates to the city of Oak Park Heights' asks. We had 3 potential pieces of legislation for the Senate and the House. One being our capital request to extend utilities down to the King Plant area. Ultimately, the state did not pass a bonding bill. So basically, essentially nothing was funded. Mike, you'll know more than I do about that stuff. And then the other items related to energy transition fundings for cities that as these power plants close, there's a funding mechanism for them to make a softer landing as a revenue offset, for lack of a better word. And the last piece was requiring Xcel Energy to provide a closure plan by, I think it was December 31st, 2025. Ultimately, that none of those made it into statute or were approved, as best of my knowledge. And I'll shut up in a second, but the Public Utility Commission's order, which approves the rate structures for Xcel Energy, which we all pay, does have some requirements for Xcel to provide some known dates of closure and remediation. So it's narrow for now. We don't know what that is, but ultimately there will be some meetings of the community over the next 2 or 3 years. So we'll see.
Was the issue with the funding was because they were arguing over how they were going to spend the surplus? Is that
Probably.
why they didn't fund
Who
anything?
knows?
Yep.
Yep.
Like anything,
Sorry
you
if
have a
that sounded
divided
bad.
government, you have different desires of those funds, and whether those are good or bad.
Yeah.
For our city, we would have appreciated the $5 million.
Yeah.
But, I'm sure there's other issues there.
Yeah, and I think the bonding bill, there was a fair amount of agreement, if not full agreement, between the House and the Senate and the governor's office on the bonding package. However, it was the budget bills that were the supplemental budget. It's not a normal budget year for the state. Next year will be the normal budget year, but that's where I think some holdup was there was wanting the tax bill and some of the omnibus spending packages to go through, and then they'd bring up a bonding package. Well, ultimately, they couldn't come to the House and the Senate couldn't come to an agreement on that, and they wouldn't hear a bonding package. So it's not off the table. It sounds like they were talking back talking yesterday, the House and the Senate and the governor's office, about whether or not they would still entertain a special session. And right now, they are talking specifically about bonding. So just because they had fair amount of agreement, but we'll see if that goes anywhere.
Is that about-
It's just talk.
Is that about them not wanting to give up their leverage and do the bonding thing while they're still arguing about other stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's what I thought.
It had to do with, the large surplus. That's why they put in a spending bill, and that's what's holding up because normally this wouldn't be a budget year.
Yeah.
It would just be specifically bonding. So that would have actually been better for us if they wouldn't have picked up, but the surplus that the state had going in for fiscal '23 and then looking forward to fiscal '24 and '25 was about $15 billion. And when you get a big piece of the pie like that, everybody wants a piece of the pie,
Yeah.
and that's where the budget bills started to come out, and then they couldn't agree on how they were going to spend that money. So
So that's all we have, huh?
Eric, I wonder if you could give us an update on that. I talked to you about it today at the party in the park, but that construction at Norrell Avenue, I think, is impacting
Sure.
a lot of people in the city.
Yeah, it's a difficult thing. There's no great way to solve that construction while it's being built. It's under load, if you will. So having traffic go through that zone while it's under construction was just not feasible. So thus we all have to deal with these detours in our community. The good news, I think, is the contractors so far as according to our city engineer and our public works director, and even as maybe we all can see, they're moving ahead, moving relatively quickly. The base course is in many places. If you're right on the front end, right by 36, you'll see a lot of curbing in. So they're about 3 weeks ahead of schedule right now.
Okay.
What does that mean in the end? Who knows? You know,
Means
but
on this date, they were 3 weeks ahead.
as of today, right? But like all contractors, they're dealing with tight labor markets, material shortages. One of the I don't know what company it is, but essentially the telecommunication company, I don't think it's CenturyLink, but one of their subsidiaries is responsible to move fiber optic. Well, they can't move fiber optic because they don't have the material, so that causes delays. Yeah, so it's just one more thing, but we press ahead, and we hope to be done with the connection between 58th, speaking out of turn, and 36 about mid-August. So at least you will be able to go north and south through there. The arms will be closed still, but so far so good. I know we all deal with it every day.
Yep.
$3.6 million project.
All right. Anything else under this item, or are we ready to move on to the visitors and public comment? Looks like it. All right, so this is this next item, visitors' public comment. This is an opportunity for the public to address the commission with questions or concerns that are not on the agenda. And we do ask that you limit any comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to come forward? Seeing none, we will move on to our public hearings. And first up, we have Chase Bank. And we usually start off with Scott.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. We do have an application for a planned unit development amendment, conditional use permit for the ATM drive-through and signage and design standards site plan review. It's for Chase Bank at 5907 Neal Avenue North. This was the former Burger King. The building will be remodeled and updated with a drive-up ATM, not a drive-up window. So you would It would just be the ATM, not a actual person behind a window type of a banking situation. The Plan Unit Development Conditional Use Permit for the Burger King was approved in May of 1999 as part of the Old Park Ponds development. So the Kowalski's development was that development. Interesting enough, at that point, we zoned it Planned Unit Development, Commercial Planned Unit Development, or PUD, Commercial Planned Unit Development. The development was approved as a PUD, and in order to change that, we have the applicant go through a Planned Unit Development amendment. Conditional use permit is also required for the ATM drive-through. There is about adequate space for 7 vehicles in the stacking lane, and a bypass lane is provided. Really, nothing with this site is really changing. They're using the same drive-through lane, same directional flow that was present for the Burger King. Parking and access for the site will not change. They are paving and re-striping the lot. Obviously, then the setbacks are not changing either. Pedestrian access, they are adding a sidewalk from the trail on Neal Avenue to the building sidewalk. As I said, parking will not change. Landscaping, we have review by the city arborist on that. You'll note there's some additional materials that were passed out tonight. The arborist had recommended that the landscape be revised so that the 7 ash trees on the site be changed, again, with the ash borer issues, and they have provided that with the changes to that plan. Lighting, they also have full specifications and a lighting plan which is consistent with the requirements of the ordinance. Trash recycling will all be within the building. Mechanical screening with their parapet design, other changes to the building again. And I believe the Burger King complied with that pretty well too. You did not see the mechanical equipment. No changes with the grading, drainage, and erosion control. The new plans also, as we move to signage, the old plans that you received in your packet did not have the location of the monument sign. The new plans do. It's up in kind of that northern portion of the site, if you want to refer to it as that. As you come off the entrance, you see a rectangle shown for that sign. So they are doing a sign, and those plans are provided in those new materials, and they are compliant also with our at least the design, the size, and so forth with the requirements for signage. The elevation plans for wall signage indicate the Chase name with the logo on 3 sides of the building and just the logo on the south facade. Even though it says Chase and then logo, we have in the past allowed that as one sign. Again, they're integrated enough. I wouldn't consider those as 2 signs each. This ordinance would allow 1,200 square feet of wall signage, and they're compliant with that. The ordinance does only allow for 3 signs on 3 separate facades. They have requested that 4th sign. That's consistent with other businesses, freestanding businesses like this, that we have allowed through a review by the Planning Commission City Council, that additional 4th sign. Sign illumination will have to require with the standards. It appears as though the signs will be internally lit and not an issue with lighting, especially at night. There's a review of the architectural guidelines. There's a materials board that they provided. A few chunks of rock for you to look at. The design of the building and transparency is not changing. Again, the building isn't changing drastically with this, and overall, in cases such as this, we've allowed allow them to make reasonable changes and improve the appearance of the building. Obviously, we're very happy that this Burger King that has been empty for a long time is now being occupied. So with that, the conditions placed at the end of your of the report would stand, and I wouldn't suggest with this new material, these new materials, any changes to what we've recommended. Any questions? The applicants are here, so we can ask questions of them also.
We have-
I had a question. I just want to make sure, it says on page 24, it says there's a modular teller station. I'm assuming it, because there's none outside, this is inside, right?
I'm sorry, Jen.
On page 24, it shows a teller station. Because you said there's no teller outside, it's all inside?
It's all, yes, it's all inside.
And then the sign, are all the signs on the building, or is there something that's off, like say off the boulevard or something? Is there any sign?
Just will be the one freestanding sign that I mentioned, and that is also in those materials. See that?
Make sure it doesn't like block. if there- somebody's at the stop
He
sign.
says it meets the
Okay,
ordinance.
I think that's my only question.
Any other questions for staff? Otherwise, I think we are probably.
You have the applicant.
Yeah, we're going to open up
presentation.
the public hearing here. So I will open up the public hearing at 6:22, and we can invite the applicant, if you're present, to come up and address the commission and answer any questions.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Scott Rossman. I'm with Bergman Associates. We're the architects for the building. Agree with everything that Scott has mentioned about the project. We've been working with the Planning Commission to complete the package and make sure everything is to the standards of the town. We think it's an appropriate building, appropriate materials for the area, and are real happy to be taking over a building that's sort of an eyesore now and
Yeah.
spiff it up with some nice materials and bring it back to life, as well as the site itself that's a little aged at this point. So spiff that up and bring it back into a good good character. So, are there any questions that I can answer?
No, I just want to say that from my point of view, I think this is an awesome thing to happen. That building's been sitting there looking ugly for so long that, happy that somebody's going to use it, and it's an upgrade, I think, from what it was being used for before with the traffic that it generated and the issues that I'm imagining happen with a fast food restaurant in town.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, typically, it's a significant reduction in the trips. Well, when the building's empty, there's no trips, but
Right. Well,
compared
there's
to
probably
a fully
just as many
functioning
trips
building.
when it's empty than when you guys are in there, because, they gotta make sure that somebody's not breaking the windows and, that kind of stuff. So the police were probably keeping an eye on the building, but they probably will go see you about as often as they had to do that, which isn't hardly ever, so. Yeah, I'm happy with it.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Nope.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you all.
With that,
Is there anybody in the
I
audience?
have one question about it looks like they're parking this whole daycare place. So this is all their parking that goes there?
They have shared parking
Oh, shared
with the whole,
Got it.
and they're keeping, it said it in the report, they're keeping the same agreements that they had
Got it.
prior to that. So-
They're honoring the existing agreement.
Okay.
Right, the
Daycare.
overall Old Park Ponds development has a shared parking agreement, so.
Okay.
And one thing about that shopping center was built at a time when, we still have those requirements, but there is a lot of parking there.
Yeah.
There's more than enough parking to be provided for anything that goes in there, so.
No, and I think we appreciate the materials being updated too.
Yeah.
Not update the external of that building, probably still get something in there, but it would be nice to have it cleaned up and
Yeah. Banks
Looks
typically
nice.
look a lot better than fast food restaurants do.
Exactly.
Under operation anyway, so. Is there
All right, well,
anybody from the audience that wants to
yeah,
say?
if there's no other questions from the commission, are there anyone in the audience who would like to address the commission or ask any questions? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to close the
I'd
public
like to
hearing.
move to close the public hearing.
I have a motion
second.
and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I think that was unanimous, so passes. All right. Any additional comments?
I don't think so.
One thing I would probably, just looking at the language and then based upon the additional materials, Condition 8 reads, "All signs shall be designed to comply with the zoning ordinance requirements for internal illumination." Let's also put size, so that, again, it's a catch-all we usually put within our approvals. Sometimes what we see at the Planning Commission City Council level when they come in for the building permit may change. They have some different ideas. So we just want to make sure that, what's approved. When Julie issues the sign permit, the building permit, that we have that condition that says, oh, you know what, you need to relook at that new sign package. So
Perfect.
probably won't happen, but it's just a catch-all that we.
All right, so just adding and size to condition 8.
Yes.
All right. With that, I would, unless there's any more comment or conversation, I would entertain a motion.
I move to accept the staff's proposal with the changes noted.
All right,
A second.
a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Unanimous. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I believe this will go before the council, oh goodness.
On June 28th.
Thank you. All right, so that will be where the actual official decision gets made. All right, up next, we have another public hearing regarding the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen Restaurant. And again, we will start with Scott.
Thank you. The application has been made for a plan unit development general plan, a conditional use permit for a drive-through restaurant and signage, as well as the design standards and site plan review. It's at 13523 60th Street North. This lot was previously part of the Eagles Club property, situated at Highway 36 on Norrell Avenue North. Construction going on there now with the improvements to that intersection. The site was always planned for 2 buildings, one of which was a Panera Bread, which is obviously in place with a drive-through, and that was approved in June of 2018. The second lot to the south, at that time, was proposed for just a retail location, but is now obviously proposed for the Popeyes restaurant. The plan unit development allowed for multi-building shopping restaurant development with joint signage, access, and parking. Again, we have one of those plan unit development situations with the joint parking. Site is zone B for a limited business district. We're okay with the comprehensive plan. Gone through that. A conditional use permit has also been requested to allow for a drive-through for the Popeyes. Setbacks, again, we're dealing with the plan unit development, and there can be some flexibility. A 40-foot front yard setback would be required for Norrell Avenue. They're at 38, but again, with the plan unit development and the site dynamics and so forth, the fact that the parking was built for, at the front of this restaurant was built as part of the Panera development, again, does restrict their site a bit, but there should not be an issue with that, in my opinion, with that setback, as well as there's the drive-through lane setback to the south property line at the narrowest point is 10 feet, and I'd ask that you guys comment on those setbacks if you have any issues. With this new construction too, we'd ask the fire marshal to look at it for emergency vehicle access. The city engineer did not have any issues with, again, the drive-through and the configuration of the drive-through with the existing lot. Parking is more than adequate. The site would require 38 parking spaces. The proposed site plan indicates a total of 83 spaces, 44 lots on Lot 1 and 39 stalls on Lot 2. Again, the 38 is for both buildings, because we've used the shopping center classification for this. The Popeyes buildings were designed with dual order lanes for the drive-through. Lanes would allow for a vehicle at each order board and 4 cars in the stacking area. I assume when this opens, we may have some backup issues. Again, the anticipation of a new fast food outlet. But I think once that settles down, this meets the basic requirements. And the fact that the fast food restaurants now employ those 2 order boards, things seem to move a lot faster. In the old days, you would have the McDonald's with the, or the worst, I think, was...
They want you to think that it's got
The worst I think I ever saw was the Krispy Kreme in Maple Grove, when they would be, for miles, they'd be lined up when they first
The
opened.
line's always faster.
Nobody knew why, right?
So again, I think that design seems to work. There probably will be some stacking into the parking area, probably at busy times, but again, with those, that situation, and we could have the applicant comment on that. I mean, they're no better their operations as far as those situations. They want people to move through their system quickly also. Plans don't indicate the area for snow storage. There probably was a coordinated plan as part of the Panera, but we should indicate where the snow is to be stored. City Arborist has done a review of the site. Lighting, the lighting plans are all consistent. Trash enclosure, there is a design for that that met requirements. Mechanical screening with any new development, we always put the condition on that the mechanical equipment should be screened and provide in accordance with the zoning ordinance requirements. Grading, drainage, erosion control, and utilities, again, really no issues with that. The plans indicate one monument sign, relatively small blade type of sign that will meet the requirements. One thing, though, we should discuss in a little bit more detail is the wall signage. Ordinance would allow a total of 150 square feet of wall signage. They have a number of signs on each of the facades. When you look at the elevations, I think Eric's going to pick that up for us. For instance, we have always considered in Oak Park Heights things such as the chicken being a sign. Popeyes and then Louisiana Kitchen, we would consider that as one sign, similar to what we did with Chase with the logo and that. But the chicken is off on its own, that would be a sign. Can we bring up another facade, Eric, just an example?
One right before that.
Yeah, so we've got, you look to the left, you got, on that lower facade, and you essentially have 3 or 4 signs, however you want to look at that. We would allow one sign per facade. The rear that faces Norrell Avenue, that's the upper, that does not have signage. Now, what I've said in the report, again, to give them some flexibility, they can decide which sign they want on each facade. And on one facade, they can have 2 signs. But in order to be consistent with what we've done in the past through conditional use permits and allowing more than 3 signs, wall signs, and 1 per facade, I think we can be a little bit more flexible on that. But again, the multiple signs per facade, there you've got 2. We're just gonna. It's my opinion, it's my recommendation that we be consistent with what we've done for others and just do 1 per facade, except for that 1 facade if they decide to put 2. And then nothing at the rear. Sign illumination, again, the standard condition would place on that. One thing, too, if you can bring up those facade diagrams, or maybe the one that shows the rear of the structure. I don't know if they did. Maybe just in the.
I don't think I have that, Scott.
It's up there.
Right there.
That one right there.
That'd be good.
That's the one.
One thing that we worked a lot with Panera is a lot of times with these fast food restaurants, they always put the rear of their building on the most visible street. I guess what we're asking as part of the conditions is to dress up that facade a little bit. Use some of the other design elements they've used on the other facades. It is clearly probably one of the most visible facades of their, and it's just a plain facade. So we would, again, similar to what we asked for Panera, they upgraded that facade. And then that was even more visible because it's right on Highway 36. But that is one of the conditions that we've added. Other than that, I think, the building is extremely attractive. It uses a lot of materials, colors. I think it's all very positive. Just we would ask for a little bit more on that rear facade. So with that, I think I'll shut up for a while and let you guys ask questions.
No, you won't.
All right. Do we have any?
Good we're about to ask a bunch of questions.
Do you have any questions for staff? I got a couple, but I'll let others go first in case they ask them better.
Well, I've got a list here, and these are not things that I think are wrong. These are things that I have questions about. Number one, the ownership of the adjoining properties. And the reason I ask that is it's one of the requirements, and it's not listed anywhere, it's not on here anywhere in the information. And so I went on Washington County and looked at the ownerships myself. And I was surprised to find that this property, the triangle property to the south, is in the name of Walmart. And the city owns everything else. And I'm wondering if that's something that is an oversight on Washington County's part? Does the city think that they got that from Walmart, or did you just get easements from them?
It's a square parcel?
It's actually a triangle. Yeah, you're right. It's a rectangular parcel. I'm sorry. But it's right where the roundabout is. So, I
Yes,
mean, it's,
we have, I forget the mechanism under which we bought it. I'm pretty sure we have easement. Yes, we have easement. I can email you
I'm sure, I've done a bunch of developments before, and with some of these big corporate people, you can't get, so you get a right of entry and move forward on your project, but while they're fighting with their attorneys and all that kind of stuff. And I'm assuming that the city is going to end up with the ownership of that. After the roundabout's in there, it'll be a little triangle just south of this property up to the roundabout. And I'm assuming the city's going to own that. It should be that
guess in
way.
my mind's eye, I can't envision what you're specifically talking about.
Yeah, if you look at the one that's the highlighted one from it's this piece right here. This is why I call it a triangle. Right now, it's a rectangle.
Yep.
Right here. And
We own that
city owns
piece right
this,
now,
City
yep.
owns this. This one is in the name of.
That is Walmart. That is, they still own it. We have a transportation drainage utility easement over it.
Okay, but the only reason why I bring it up, from a practical standpoint, has to do with the setback. And, you know, that piece is too small to do anything with. I'm not worried that Walmart's gonna wanna apply for a, I don't know.
So it's to the south where we've got that 5-foot setback,
Bus stop or
Tim,
something.
isn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the reasons I didn't make a big issue of it, is
Yeah.
because that's not going to be developed.
Well, and that's what I was assuming, and I just wanted to bring it up
Yeah.
so that people are thinking about it. The next thing was the building orientation, the building elevation, or the elevations aren't labeled on the plans, and I probably spent 15 minutes trying to figure out which one was the west and which one was the north, and just because they weren't labeled, and then I try to look at the plan and look at the elevations, and they just weren't. I finally figured it out, but anyways. On that same plan that we're talking about, where they took the city's overall traffic plan, and they call it Popeye's roadway exhibit, there are a bunch of dead-end trails. And I just want to, I'm sure they're not dead-end trails, but they look like it to me, so I'm just hoping that somebody can answer. You know, it looks like, well, immediately south, it looks like that one dead ends for some reason, and then goes across the street, to the south.
Tim, this
Yeah, it's
one's
up
on
here.
the screen.
Oh, okay. So, just to the south of the proposed building, the proposed property, on the east side, there's a trail coming down, then it stops. But then it goes across to the south, crosses the road to the south. Same thing if we go over to the west, behind the, what is it, the Stillwater Dental Building and the old McCormick's, their trail is coming along, and then it stops, but it goes across the street. I assume there's reasons for that. The one on the north side of the Panera, I assume that's connecting to the existing trail? Is that what that? I mean, that's why these trails are shown that they just stop, because they're going into previously existing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they're going into existing traffic pattern or pedestrian patterns.
And that's what I assumed, but I just needed to bring it up because it isn't explained very well. And I don't think anybody was trying to make dead-end trails, and I'm sure that, I mean, it just looked like it to me when I first looked at it, that's all. The east elevation, number 4, the east elevation, the same thing that you came up with, I think it's plain, and I think it's the first impression. And
Yeah, I think it needs
granted, this is an unusual property, and you know, the Panera basically is backwards on that lot, and so that's gonna make this one backward on the lot. You don't normally have the service side of the building facing the busiest street in town, but there's really nothing that can be done about it, but I agree with what you're saying about
I mean, just with building
having it-
materials
just
and
getting
so
it
forth.
jazzed up. I think what they did on Panera, didn't they put some fake windows in? And, I mean, they put a couple windows that they're not really windows, and they're
Right, I
just
think-
blocked out, but it's,
Some opaque windows, and then
Yeah.
they changed the building materials.
Yeah, is that
too.
what they
just
did?
had
Okay,
a-
yeah.
A flat ephes surface.
Yeah.
What we're asking is this be?
the next item I had was the potential remnant to the south, but that's not a remnant, so. And then I'm hoping that when the applicant has an opportunity to talk, that they'll tell us a little about Popeye's restaurant. And the reason I ask is I don't know anything about them. Never been in one, there aren't any in this area, and so I'm hoping that, you know, what do they sell and what, you know.
Chicken.
Yeah.
Well, so I have another question. What does Stillwater Dental in that building say about the additional traffic driving basically right beside their building? Because that traffic flow is going to be within inches of that building, the way that road's set up, and it's
So-
going to be a thoroughfare.
Yeah, so the owner of Stillwater Dental, that building, Dr.
Yeah, I can't remember her name
forget her
either.
name. And Trent Mayberry, who is the developer of this site, they have cross easements for this, and they were in agreement at the time of the initial platting of this. So they anticipated this being a second commercial zone on the front end. We've heard no negative comments.
Was that
from them.
before we closed off the frontage road, though? Because now with the frontage road being closed off, this is your right turn to go back out to the main drag.
Well,
But they also have the,
Or the roundabout, because you can't get
There's
out
a
any other.
roundabout.
Yeah, but the roundabout, there's no way to get to the roundabout. You're gonna come on the frontage road, you're gonna take a left or right,
we
go
do know-
through that parking lot to get back to the roundabout.
Well, we do know this plan was developed, this layout for our road was developed in conjunction with that discussion. At the time, about 2017, 2018 or something in that neighborhood. The city actually exchanged lands with the developer at the time. The city used to own land on the north end of the Panera site, and we exchanged it for land on the south end of the proposed Popeye site. I hope I have that right. So all of that was done in development of this, so that all the parties knew when those cross easements were signed that this was the plan. We held a number of public hearings, all those things before. Now, could they change their mind? Sure, but thus far, we've not heard any meaningful complaints or concerns from,
And they would have received the public hearing notice if they would
Oh,
have.
yeah.
They're probably here tonight.
as far as I know,
I'm just concerned because if you're coming down 60th going east,
Yep.
you're gonna take a right and you're gonna scoot through that property and you're gonna take another right to get back to 36.
well, if we have people purposefully cutting through there, I'm sure we'll get a call, and then we'll try to deal with it from there. But
It's gonna happen.
I
yeah,
don't,
it could happen. I think one way to address that would be to, stop the direct cut through if those owners wanted that in the future, and then make people really wind their way through the parking lot a little bit. If you're going to the restaurant, that might be one thing, but if you're just looking for a simple cut through, I don't think you will.
Yeah, but this is, they're gonna come
yeah, I
off
think the
36
majority of
and
the
they're
people are
gonna
gonna come
drive
through the roundabout, the backside.
Unless you're coming
Because you
from
gotta
this
go,
direction, you're gonna
I
cut.
think the minority of the traffic is gonna come from the commercial side into that cul-de-sac and then into Panera. I think
Yeah.
all the traffic, 80% is gonna come up the up the roundabout in the Popeye side.
I would think so.
I'm convinced that, well, first of all, that little cul-de-sac, the illegal cul-de-sac that's on the north that no one would be able to build except the city, that sorry, I don't know how that slipped out somehow. That cul-de-sac is not, people will only drive into that once. If they drive into it, they'll only drive in there once, and they'll go, well, this doesn't make any sense, and they'll drive back out. And I think when it comes to traffic flows, I think what probably is going to happen is people are going to come down that, I want to get that picture in front of me. I guess we got it up there, but right now, people are used to driving on that northern frontage road, if you want to call it that. Nobody's going to use that anymore because all of the access now is going to come from the new frontage road, which is on the south. So they'll go up there the first couple times and cut through, but after that, they're going to go, whatever business they're at, they're going to go to the south and get on the frontage road that'll take them directly onto the roundabout and so that they can get out. They're not going to drive east on the north road and then come through the cut through to get down to that, except the very first time they do it.
My concern is you got to go back to Kruger Lane though, back by Menards, because is it easier? Are they going to turn right and go through traffic to get to the roundabout, or are they going to take shortcuts?
Well, if
Because
they're at
Kruger's
those,
not a roundabout yet. It's
No,
still
but-
a right turn.
but after this thing is built, the frontage road is now the road on the south, not the one on the north. And really, no one's going to drive up there. I don't
Correct,
think.
unless you're coming from Kowalski's.
You're going to turn. You're going to turn on.
You turn right. You're going to turn. You're going to take two. You're going to go right.
Kruger.
Left.
You're going to take
You
the
know, Kruger-
Kruger
yeah,
Lane and get. So they want to get to that roundabout so they can get out to 36. And the fastest way they do that is on this new frontage road. I mean, that's the way it's designed, and I think the traffic is going to follow it. I mean, they'll only come if they come off of Kruger or for Kowalski's and come roaring down this road on the north end there. They're going to get to the little fake cul-de-sac, and then they're going to go cut through. And the next time they're going to say, well, I'm not doing that again. I'm going to turn at Menards, and I'm going to go through and get right on the road that takes me to the roundabout, because that's the only way to get out.
That's what you would hope.
So I think that people will do it once. Maybe some people like me that don't get it right away might do it twice. But I think after that, the frontage road's going to work the way it was designed, because now all of the traffic is going to go south.
Well,
It's under construction, so.
It is.
we'll know soon.
We'll know soon.
I mean, yeah. I guess I'm just looking at the design, and I
it's just a concern because there's lots of entrances and exits onto that new frontage road. It's not like it's not set up like a frontage road. It's set up as a parking lot road with lots of lines of traffics going in and out. It's not a true frontage like the existing frontage road is. And I can see during heavy loads of traffic, I don't want to drive by all 12 of those spots when I can skip them all and cut through. The locals will learn that.
We'll have
So
to find
are
out.
there gonna be-
Maybe we
yeah, give it a whirl. I bet you'll go the other way after
find
that.
out.
It'd be interesting to see. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of traffic on that frontage road,
Yep.
the way it's designed, with all those
Yep.
ins and outs.
Yep.
So is there gonna be stop signs? Here?
They have questions on stop signs?
You're gonna get a lot of traffic going through here to Menards. Going through there to Menards, and all those entry points, are there gonna be stop signs there?
As they come to the road, yes, there'll be
Okay.
stop signs. They won't just
Okay.
be able to.
Oh,
Right. This will be the main
you
thoroughfare.
just don't know until that traffic starts flowing.
Well, there won't be stops for these people going through,
No,
or just the
that's
people
what I'm
coming in.
saying.
Yeah.
Versus
That's what I'm saying. The people are
But
gonna
just to
go
clarify
through.
that, so we're not going to have stop signs on the east-west flow. You'll just, once you leave the parking lot and go onto the access road, that's where you have a stop sign.
North
Right.
south.
Right.
North
Yeah.
south.
Yeah.
Right.
But you'll be able to freely flow.
Once you're on that main line, you go straight to
frontage road.
Kruger. Yep.
Right.
So it sounds like the
be
consensus is it might be an issue, but we won't know until we know.
Let me see.
We'll say if you keep those potholes in that little lane there, that will discourage people. Yeah.
I had one last issue that I wanted to say was the sign issues that he brought up. I mean, if we allow what staff looks at as a sign, you know, the logo pictures that they're using on the building, is the same thing as McDonald's putting their arches are a logo. I mean, if the building started putting all that kind of decoration on the building, that becomes signage. And I think that's a little bit what this is like, and from my standpoint, I think if we get on that slippery slope, everybody's gonna be asking for it.
We've
And-
been pretty strict about
Yeah,
that.
and I think we should be, because it's, yeah. It should be fair for the people that have already had to do what they had to do to comply, and now to let somebody else do it, it wouldn't be fair, so. Much as I'd like to see this business come in here, which I would, but anyways, I'm done.
Do we have additional questions for staff at this time?
I think it
This-
looks nice. I think the building looks nice, even though, yeah.
We should wait till we're done with the hearing so we can.
Yeah, I just had one question for staff, and it's a clarification on something that was mentioned earlier. The sidewalk connection on the south side of the property that will So if you go back to exhibit 15. I guess it's a trail.
Oh, yeah, one more time.
Alan?
Yeah, the trail on the north side of 59th Street, on the south side of the property that Tim was pointing out, there isn't a connection there between those two. We're saying there will be.
I don't know that anybody said that.
So,
If you look roughly,
here?
right there, that piece right there,
And then if you go
West.
I'll just say, yeah, left.
you go
for-
west?
west all the way over to the next piece of.
No, there is no trail here.
Yeah, I know that, but that's what he's asking, is it going to
No,
connect?
there is no connection there.
Is there a plan to connect it?
From there, because there's another trail right,
No,
if you go even a
the-
little more west than their driveway.
Well, how to phrase this? So the connection to the west, I'm sorry, is here.
No. Oh,
So there's a west
trail
connection
there.
here, and the sidewalk comes up. So if you're coming from the south, oh, I'm sorry. If you're coming from the south, we have a trail that connects here.
Right.
And then up, and then you're connected. So if you wanted to go, if you're going to Chipotle from the south, you would go that way. If you, I mean, could there one be here? Sure, we can.
that's what we were asking.
But there's
That's-
not one there now.
Those were the dead ends that I was talking about, and he's asking the same question.
Right, I
That's
just wanted to
But
clarify
I
on the
know,
north side of the new road,
no,
it looks like there's a gap in the trail.
there's no known connection there. The goal here is to make the north-south connection.
I won't ever drive this.
I just want to
And
bring
then
that
there
up.
is a westerly connection already
goes
here
down.
and on the north end.
Yeah.
But that would be a city improvement, not something we'd ask the developer. All right.
Correct.
No,
I don't
it's
remember
a-
the conversations with the engineers why that was not included here. Do you have any recollection of why that connection?
In
was not there?
hindsight, I know there's some elevation issues here.
But that's,
But I don't see why we couldn't have done one off the top of my head, but Lee might have said,
on a 2D plan, it looks like it should, but
Yeah.
that, you don't know what the contours look
I
like.
know here there's some elevation issues, but over here, it's pretty flat. We could look at that.
We should probably ask Lee, who's the
Yeah,
city engineer
it's all
prior
dug
to the
up right
city.
now, it's hard to even tell.
I mean, it really isn't related to the Popeyes, but it's something.
Is this the main
conversation. Let's,
crossing here for 36? I mean,
Alright.
people are gonna get hit
But there
here
could
and
be a
here.
very well reason why we didn't, but I just don't remember that.
Well, like I
My
said,
mind's eye tells me it's pretty
It's
flat.
irrelevant to this conversation.
What was the
Right.
planning commission, we're
We
just,
need to keep going.
Yeah,
This
we
is
need to-
irrelevant to this
yeah.
conversation.
So my next question is for the applicants. So unless there are other questions for staff, we can open up the public hearing at 6:54 and invite the applicant to come speak.
Hello, my name is Richard Gerdeman. I'm with Wolpert. We're the civil engineers for the project. I'll be the design engineer of record. Noted some of your questions. Hopefully I can answer a lot of them. I know some of it is in the works, particularly the signage. And I reached out to Chris Ludwig. He's on call with me right now. He's the architect. He can answer the wordy things about what exactly Popeye's kitchen is, Louisiana kitchen, Louisiana style. It's a spicing. It's a little bit different. It's kind of like KFC, but a different twist on it, but a little nicer. It's not going to have the traffic flows like you would with a Chick-fil-A. So it's going to be a lot less than that. But it's just a different style of chicken. And we just got one in our area that just opened up, and I've not even been there yet. So, but they're growing.
I've ate them all over like
But I just flew up from Illinois here. So
when I said, explain it to us a little bit,
Yeah.
is it, some places are designed to be more of a pick up and go place, and some places are more designed as a eat in the, are they a little bit of both, or?
well, that's a great question these
I mean,
days now too. I mean, everybody seems to be. It's really vehicle heavy. In fact, you mentioned about the dual lanes. I just saw somebody came up with a quad lane
Yeah.
for a development, and it's that's really the way that it's going. The demographics changed, the sit down and relax, it's now go and grab.
Taco
grab it.
Bell, I think, is saying 80% is drive-through right now. In fact, it was at Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, they just designed the first two-story Taco Bell, where it's all drive-through lanes, there's no sit-down.
Crazy looking.
Yeah, I know the people that own the Culvers in town, and during the pandemic, I was talking to one of the general managers, and I said, wow, this must really be tough. Said, no, we're having record months every month.
Yeah.
And I said, well, what do you mean? And they said, well, we're trying to figure out how to not open the restaurant because they make way more money on the drive-through. But it took teaching people to do the drive-through and not come there.
These are not sit-downs. I mean, they have tiny sitting areas. They're smaller than
Are they?
Taco Bell. in
There's
other
sit-down
parts of the
areas in
country.
this.
But they're small. They're not like a McDonald's size.
Well,
They're like half.
well, McDonald's has even changed its
Well, I was just
design
going to say, if you
size
go in the
scale down.
newest McDonald's over on Stillwater Boulevard, there's, 12 tables in there.
Yeah.
And they have, well, like I said, there's 12 tables in the main part, then there's one of those playground things that, that they have walled off so nobody
they
has
get
to
rid
hear
of
it. So that was what I was wondering, is what kind of an operation is it? What is their menu like and that kind of stuff? But I didn't, if you're the civil engineer, you don't have any idea about that, so that's fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it's a good question. I mean, in about, we could go kind of line item, or we could bring up a plan. But some of the questions, in particular one with snow storage, what they're currently doing right now is the furthest southwest 7 stalls is being used for snow storage right now. We're not going to use all these spaces. It's heavily parked. We've got more than we need. Having the drive-through come in, split out, and then be able to go through. Like you said, opening day, a few things are probably going to have people out there, just like they do with some of the Chick-fil-A stuff and maybe direct. But it queues along really quick. The delivery system's really quick. So after that first excitement, I don't think you're going to have any stacking issues. But the issue is, too, we have so much parking, I believe that they could, if it did happen, a special sale, whatever, they could queue along, heading south along the south run and match in. So there could be more queuing than there because, again, a lot of that parking isn't necessarily going to be active. It may be used, but it may not be active in and out. A few of the other things, too. So as far as the sign package goes, what you saw there were some prototypical items from some. We're actually, I talked with Chris here. There is a specific sign package that's going to come with that, and it's not going to be a deal killer. I mean, it's something we'll definitely work with. The one facade, being able to add maybe some of that other, non-EFIS items. I'm not a fan of the fake windows, but some other type of methodology that could bring some spice up to that. Again, civil engineer. More of the architectural item, but that's definitely something that was not absolute site-specific. They're working, each one kind of is custom so they're working with the sign vendor. So I think what we need to do is once they get their package together, we'll get those off to you guys for review, and definitely can work with
Any
on that.
idea that if that could be accomplished before the city council meeting?
I think so, yes. I think it's in the works.
That'd be helpful for
Yep.
the councils.
Yep. Yeah, so that could be one of those contingent type approvals.
Yeah, myself personally, I don't mind if there's things that aren't quite done that Scott's on top of, and it gets done before the council meeting. I don't think the planning commission, unless it's something that we really had strong feelings about,
Yeah.
but I don't think that, I agree with what you're thinking, and if they can make you happy,
I think you should make a recommendation, though, on those two main items. Do you agree, first of all, do you agree with staff with the one sign per facade?
Yep.
Per facade, and if they don't do one on the rear, that they're allowed to do a fourth one on one of the other facades. And then secondly, and I wasn't talking about adding transparency, because we know that's all operational and storage in the back of that building. I would say just use of materials and design on the rear of that.
Yeah, Chris can definitely do that. I mean, we can definitely make that and
Use some of the
not
wood
be an
elements or
encumbrance
the-
to our client, cost-wise. So now you say being able to utilize the one side per facade plus the one little logo?
No, what I'm
Chasing or
saying
no?
is, we've typically allowed, in these situations, 4 wall signs total.
Okay.
So if you're not going to do one on that Norrell side, on that rear side, then we would at least what I'm recommending, is that you could do a second sign on one of the facades. So
Okay.
total 4 signs.
Yeah.
You have the choice of which signs.
Okay.
We've done that many times before.
That's where the chicken logo could go on the one side as opposed to, say, the back would be.
Right,
Yep,
right.
okay.
Or if they decide to put one of the signs on that rear facade, then you got one per,
Yeah, and
Again, we try to be flexible for you
And I
guys.
understand going down the slippery slope, though. If you open the can of worms, then it's like, well, you guys let this happen. So I get that. There was another thing, so the 5-foot setback on the south side there, you're not going to have an issue with that, or?
No, again, because the ownership, the fact that there's easements over it, I didn't bring it up as an issue.
Yeah, and I don't.
And you, Tim, you caught it.
I only brought it up because of the ownership was different, and I thought, oh, what, Walmart isn't going to say anything, but
And you're never going to have anything there, so.
no, it's not big enough to use, and there's an easement over it, so I don't really have an issue. But if Walmart owned it, I could see them saying, well, hold it a minute, we,
I think our easement's for the entire parcel, to be
yeah.
honest.
Well, and I'm sure it is, because
I think it is.
it's only a triangle left after you put the roundabout in there, so.
Okay. And I'm actually glad grading-wise and access-wise that we don't have to move, because we could take that drive aisle and move it to the north, but what I actually, because we have the ADA parking there, you have the ramps up and down to that. You have to ramp, I told our guys, we got to get a ramp in here for them to bring the garbage out if they're going to roll it out.
Oh, yeah.
You got to get out to that dumpster, and I don't want them to be pulling it up over a curb. So we need that bit of distance to come back down on that ramp to make that happen. We may have to turn the corner on that, but that space is going to be, you don't see it now, but I'm going to actually add that to it to get those guys so they don't trip, just especially in the wintertime. So, yeah, we'll make adjustments to that. Everything else, we're, I think, just a little bit under the impervious was before, so yeah, grading, drainage, everything like that seemed to work out well. Yeah, I mean, so it's the facade and some of the signage seems to be the things that if we can get you something, and we will get you something before the plan commission meeting, so whether or not you conditionally approve based on acceptable solutions to that, we can get that to you.
All right.
Did you have any questions specifically otherwise?
I did, unless, all right. I was looking at the site plan for the drive-through, and it looks like I was a little bit concerned that the people exiting the Popeyes drive-through would have to weave with the people entering the Panera drive-through. That there might be a conflict there. Now, personally, I think if you can't navigate that, you probably shouldn't have a driver's license. But I'm also a motorist on our roads. A lot of people do.
There's curbing between them both.
And as what I'm thinking of is how it's going to operate. We can do all the traffic studies, we can predict what the movements are going to be. That's just the illumination plan. Could you take it to the site plan?
Sure.
Should be a little.
It's a heavy ass, though, man.
I know. All right, right, that's grading, that's utilities, actually, that's
Landscape.
That's, we can do that. So, yeah, so let's see. Yeah, so as you're coming out, I mean, they might make that turn, but they also just make but you're gonna be sitting there visual on that. It's not as if it's a blind turn. So they, like you said, but it's there. It's not a blind turn. It's not high speed. It's not an entrance coming in. It's they're slowing, they're making their turns. I don't see it as an issue.
And it's all curbed, both of them are curbed. So it's not like somebody's gonna accidentally drive from one to the other, like if it was
Oh, yeah,
painted,
it's-
there would be a problem, but.
It was more just the idea of someone exiting and trying to go to the right side of the road, and someone on the right side of the road trying to go to the left to get to the Panera. But
No,
I think,
it's,
yeah, as long as it sounds like you guys have got your eye on that and maybe have some
yeah,
solutions up your
it's
sleeve.
amazing how that exit, especially coming out onto roadways, being able to get things lined up with left turn lanes and being able to incorporate that, those are the bigger concerns to deal with, but.
All right, any other, that was my, I think, my only question. Do we have any other questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
We also would invite anyone in the audience if they would like to, okay. Well, with that, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
We have a motion.
And a second.
And a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? I think that was unanimous. All right. Additional conversation.
as soon as everybody's done talking, I think I have an idea what we want to do for a motion, so. But find out if there's more questions.
Any other questions?
Nope.
All right, so I guess we are ready for a motion.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to move to approve, as the report recommends. And I think that there's a couple items here that, in the conclusion recommendation, page 7 and page 8. My motion and my feeling personally is that the staff has an eye on what has been done with the signage in the past, and that we should stay with what he is recommending. And then I would go one step further and say that if the applicant gets some of the stuff that they need before the council meeting, and they can get Scott to do it, I want to make that I guess a condition of number 11. It's part of number 11, all the signs and everything designed to comply with the, or is there a better one? Is that?
I think it's number
probably
10.
Maybe number 10.
10.
Maybe number 10, yeah.
So to staff prior to city council.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just saying that what you presented to us, I'm on board with, and I think that's what we've done in the past, and so I want to make that a condition that they just make sure that they get you the information, and if they do to your satisfaction, then that's part of our recommendation to the council. That's the way I see that. And the other thing had to do with the lighting, wasn't it the sign? No.
The rear facade.
Well, the rear facade, I'm sorry. So it's still part of the sign, in my opinion, it's still part of the signage, but is there a separate?
Yeah, so
Think about the
13,
Which one?
just 13
13.
comments on the building
Oh, yeah, okay,
design.
yeah, there it is, rear facade, yeah. And I'm with you on that. Personally, I agree, and it's part of my motion that we make that a condition, that they make some changes to that so that it's jazzed up a little bit to your satisfaction before it goes to the council. And my motion is saying that the planning commission is recommending that, so.
The only other one that I asked you to comment on was number 1 on page 7, and that was the 5-foot setback. And I think you're all okay.
We're all, yeah, yeah.
So in 5 words or less, what is your proposal?
Well,
Make a motion.
Make a motion.
So I'll restate the motion to approve as presented in the staff report, with emphasis on number 1, number 10, and I'll leave it at that.
And 13.
And
I would amend 13.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry. 1, 10, and 13, revised the way we discussed with Scott.
I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Pretty sure that was unanimous, so it passes. All right, so this will also go before the council on the 28th of June, unless I'm mistaken. Nope. All right, so that will be the final decision will come there. Thank you.
Any idea on when you might, it would be nice that if we could incorporate those plans into the packet, which would go out, if we can have them like the Wednesday before Tuesday, the 28th? Is that a possibility?
Yeah, I'll talk to Louis to push Chris.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. That'd be great, so that we can,
And on that plan commission meeting, are we up here for that as well?
if you could be, yeah, you
The
should be here
council
for the
meeting,
city
you mean.
Council meeting.
Yeah, the council meeting's here.
Hey, with weather like this, it's great to come to
Yeah, I
Minnesota.
flew the Arrow up here today, so ready to sooner, but the crew car was gone. Really late home. All right. Thanks very much.
Well, thank you.
All right, so that ends our public hearings. Next, we have the new business I added, sorry, guys. The Oak Park Heights condos. Little birdie told me about this, but I thought maybe staff could kind of give us a heads up since this will be kind of a big project.
Extra.
So if I'm understanding correctly, the here on the corner, right?
Right.
58th and Oak Green Avenue. So there's an old White House right here on the corner. You leave City Hall, you'll see it there. The owner of that property is a local person, Jamie Junker, and he wants to redevelop that site into, and Scott, certainly stop me if maybe you've heard this, that a couple times. And we met with him a couple months ago about some very cursory concepts to develop 2, potentially 3-story buildings. We've heard anywhere from 24 to 36 units at that site. He did hold some neighborhood meetings, whatever one wants to define those as. We invited the community in and around his home, 500 odd feet. He held them here at City Hall. We let people do that. And, you know, whether those go good or bad, it's not for us to say. It's just a opportunity for him to engage the neighborhood about what he wants to do. To date, he has not supplied, or he has not submitted to the city an application. There's nothing of record right now. We've seen some of his 2-dimensional sketches. We've seen the elevation of that building. I mean, the building's kind of cool looking, but does it fit at that corner? And how does it comply with the ordinance? That site is currently zoned open space in our city. That's a placeholder. It does allow single-family residential under open space as well. However, the comp plan directs it to be low density. So, at its face, if we took the application and concept that he would propose, it's not compliant with the city's comp plan.
The only way he could accomplish it is if he has to rezone, but he'd have to change the comprehensive plan. And, you know, that's going to be the discussion. Does the planning commission recommend, does the city council want to do that? There wasn't, I believe, I can't remember all the plans, but I think the last plan called for that, maybe mid-density. It was different. But it was.
Yeah, 2008 had it mid-density.
Mid-density.
2018 has it low density.
And we discussed a lot of those areas in specific with the planning commission and city council. And the thought in 2018 is that it should be low density to be more consistent with and that's what it became.
So if he makes an application, at its face, it's a hard no, likely, unless there's council's willing to rezone and amend its comp plan. Our 402 ordinance basically says no, if it's not consistent with the comp plan, that it's patently premature.
Yeah, we can't rezone it to something the comp plan doesn't call for.
Right.
So we've tried to express that kindly to the person, but you know, it's still his right to apply, and we'll see. We have a meeting with him on the 15th, Scott.
Yep.
And we'll hear some more. We do preliminary staff meetings with developers, just like these folks here tonight, and yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, and I guess.
Yeah, and he was up at the city council.
Yeah,
He pitched his plan. I mean, it was during the 3-minute visitor piece, so there was no back and forth with the council and himself. It was just, here's what I'm thinking. That's all he told us.
I also have something to add. He contacted me, and I think it was one of the council members that told him to contact me because she thought I was the chairman still. And the message that went back is, I'm not the chairman, and if you want to talk to the chairman, then this is his name. And
Sure.
That was not the birdie that talked to me, for the record.
the what?
That was not the birdie that talked to me,
Yeah,
for
well,
the record.
No, I'm not. All I'm doing is just making it public that he contacted me, and I didn't talk to him. I didn't talk to him because I didn't. There are channels, you know, and.
And he's had a number of neighborhood meetings, maybe you mentioned that, but how many? 3, 4?
4.
Yeah.
4.
And
And it's amazing. I hear, again, this is all anecdotal. I hear things that are good, things that are bad, things that are, oh, it went great, oh, it went horrible. You know, so we're just the staff, you say, well, when the application comes in,
Go from there.
And I can.
deal.
Don't have an
I
application.
can tell you that from my point, and the reason why I bring it up is that this is one of the things when I'm doing a development for somebody that I do is I try and talk to as many people as I can. You want to talk to the planning commission chairman, you want to talk to the parks people, you want to talk to the council members individually if you can. You want to talk to as many people as you can before you get up and start going through, spending money and going through that process. And, you know, it's always been my position here is to not lead somebody down the path thinking that, yeah, you got my support, you know, and because then they spend money and they get mad and then they start suing people. And so I bring that up just to say that he's contacted me and I didn't talk to him, but it's not that I won't talk to him, but, you know, that's typically how that's played. I mean, that's the game plan. That's how you do it. So, you may get a call, who knows?
So that's what we know.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well,
Yep.
yeah, thank you. But my thought was just that, you know, when it does come, it might be helpful to maybe have more than one meeting. I mean, we did spend 45 minutes each on a chicken restaurant and turning a Burger King into a bank. So this one's, I think, going to be a little more discussion.
You're going to have more neighborhood input.
People will come.
I was just going to say that.
And he hasn't applied, so at this point, there's nothing to talk about till he applies.
I think it's fair to say that numerous council members have been contacted by
Yes.
the public already.
And
It will be something that will bring great discussion.
Well, and I think there's been plenty of public hearings and discussions about that comp plan when it was being developed. And those neighbors are going to say, hey, we thought we had a reason to believe this, you know, that it was going to be low density. And the people with the single family houses right next to it that all back up to it, they're going to have something to say about it, so.
We haven't had a good hot one for a while.
And that it will be.
Yeah, it will.
Well, with that, if we have no old business, informational, we've got 4 upcoming meetings.
They're on that list. This-
Don't have it right in front of me.
Oh,
but
okay, well, there it is right there.
thanks.
Wait, here's yours right here.
I hid it from myself. See, we've got, well, you guys can probably review this for yourself. But the next ones we really have to worry about is, well, I do, because I'm going to be the council representative at the meeting on the 28th, and then,
That'll be at the June meeting, yep.
yep.
July.
Or July, I'm sorry, yeah, July, I'm sorry.
So with that, we only have one item left on the agenda.
I would like to make a motion
I
to
would entertain
adjourn.
it.
To adjourn.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. I think that was unanimous.
Never
Thanks,
been able to do
everyone.
that yet.
Cheers, guys.
Yeah.